Hello and welcome. My name is Dr. Spencer Erickson at Timpview Chiropractic, and I am pleased to bring to you my posture workshop. What I've done in the past, I've done this in live format with the PowerPoint, and so what I need to do is have a recording of it. So we're just going to go through the workshop today. Some of the stuff is going to make sense once we get into it. We'll just get going on it and kind of see how it feels. If you have questions at any point, feel free to pause, go back, listen again, or just feel free to contact us. The number to the office is 801-762-6940. You can email the front desk at timpviewreception@gmail.com, or you can email me directly, Dr. Spencer Erickson at gmail.com. You're always welcome to do that. All right, so let's get going on this. Now, posture in your life. And really what we want to do with this is we want to create lasting change. This is what it's all about, and this is the most difficult thing about posture. And so as we get into this, you'll kind of understand why that is. Now, why are you here watching this? Some people are more worried about their appearance. Some people are in pain all the time, and they know posture contributes to that. Some people know that posture contributes to mental health, depression, self-consciousness. Some people, like I said, just don't like the way that they look, and they get really self-conscious about it. Low confidence, that is one definite sign of poor posture, and that can be a cause of poor posture as well. And then one of the most important things that I work with in my life, in my office, is longevity. Or there are 100 other reasons why you could be here looking at this. So establishing a why becomes really, really important, because that's going to give you the fuel that you're going to need to make the long-term changes that are going to have to be made for posture. Posture is a difficult thing to change. Now, as we go through this, I want to start establishing that why. Now, one of those ways that we can do that is figuring out what are our values, what are your values. I have a little worksheet that I'll do sometimes in a live class, and one of those things is I want you to list values. If you have a moment, you can pause this and list top 5 values in your life. Have you established those before? In mine, you can see on there, I've got adventure, family, knowledge, action, and of course physical fitness and health. I love all those things. Those things are values in my life. If I do things that are outside of that, then I'm not in congruence, and that contradiction starts to create destruction, and it starts breaking things down. So how do each of these relate to each other for you, and how do I, or in your case you, how do you express each of them in your life? Now, one thing I want you to know is this is not about me. This is not about me trying to make money off of you. Of course, I run a business, and part of that business is helping people with their posture and getting people adjusted and that kind of stuff. And so I need to run a business to bring, financial support to my family and myself and reach some of my goals. But I want this to be about you. Are you, when it comes down to those values that we just talked about, are you the person that you want to be? Are you where you want to be in your life? Are you meeting your goals? Are you honoring, and this is a big one for me, are you honoring your body as a gift from your Creator? Is that vehicle, that body, taking you through life in the manner that you want it to? Is it a positive experience for you going through with your body, or is it a negative experience? And if not, if it's negative, then how? And what can you do right now to start correcting that course? One thing is kind of a trite thing to say, but you get exactly one body in this entire life. So, are you happy with it? And is your body happy with you? Is it treating you the way that you want your body to treat you? And again, these questions become really important when it comes to doing something very difficult like changing posture. We're going to talk about some of the easy fixes that people think they can get, like 5 minutes, doing exercises per day, or you just wear a brace that you buy on Amazon. Those things are very, very difficult to change posture with because they're not fundamental enough. They don't get down to the cause well enough. And so if you really want to change posture, it's got to be kind of a lifestyle thing, and that's got to come from a deeper why. So we come back to purpose, and I'm going to gloss over this one a little bit. Fatherhood or motherhood. Do you have a career that's your purpose? Is your purpose to give service? Do you have individual goals and purposes that you need to have better health for? So why am I doing this workshop? My values of action, physical fitness and health, and knowledge. I really want to empower everybody who watches this with knowledge about what actions that they can take in their lives, about how to improve their health and physical fitness. So again, it's not about me. If those are values of yours as well, or similar values, then I want to give you some tools that can help you make the changes that you want to make and feel like you're actually making a good, positive, fundamental difference in your life. Now, we talk a little bit about calling too, and I don't want to belabor this. My home and family calling, my personal calling, my professional calling. I believe in what I do. The body has a really strong innate ability to heal itself, and I've just seen way too many miracles to believe otherwise. And one thing that I believe just to be the case all the time is I believe that what you choose to do right now is going to affect you for the rest of your life, potentially. And I want to be a voice for positive change so that you can live up to your potential if that's what you want to do. I want to help you fulfill your own callings because you know me. This is also why I adjust kids. Adjusting kids has changed my life in really, really dramatic ways. All right, now, sometimes we need to make dramatic changes. Those changes require dramatic actions. And I'm going to talk about this a lot with posture because posture changes so many things on a fundamental basis. Or changing posture requires so many fundamental changes to be made. So what we need to do is we need to establish your why. Why is it important for you to change your posture? Because if your why is not strong enough, it's not going to happen. It just requires too much effort. Now, in addition to that, we have to figure how much you value it. That falls right along with the why in almost everything that we do. It takes time. Sometimes it takes money, takes effort, takes energy, and sometimes it takes an entire lifestyle change. So establishing your why is very important. Now, your body, what I want to remind people of consistently is your body is your vehicle. How do you view that body that you're driving around? Do you view it as a gift from your creator? Do you believe that health is a priority in your life? What about functionality? Do you like to be able to function and do all of the things that you want to do in a manner that you want to do them in? Are you a genetic determinist, or do you believe that you have control over the way that your body expresses itself? What about your nutrition? Is nutrition important to you? What about physical strength and fitness? Because that's something that is going to require a change to make that posture stick once we're able to make the changes that we need to fundamentally. And then, of course, stress management. Well, we're going to talk a lot about stress in this. Posture is a lot of times a reflection of the amount of stress in your body and in your life. Okay, now we have to talk about the nervous system. The nervous system is everything. Yes, we have a physical body that can move and act and do, but at the core of that is the nervous system. It runs everything. It is who you are. It is everything you perceive. It is everything that you express. That all comes through the nervous system. You can see Simon Berkovich. He's a computer scientist. He gave us this number. This is how many actions per second. He said there are 10 to the 24 actions per second that happen in the brain. That is an astronomically large number. You can see on this, it's about, if that were a stack of dollar bills, a stack of that many dollar bills, but as thin as those dollar bills are, it would be approximately 6.8 times 10 to the 23 miles tall. 75 billion times the distance from Earth to the nearest star. So back and forth, or at least to that star 75 billion times. It's an astronomically large number. We can't even fathom how big that number is. The nervous system is everything, and it's constantly processing information. Now, your spine, most people don't realize that the spine is one of our most important, if not our most important sensory organ. It sends about 3 billion signals per second of information up to the brain just by itself. The highest concentrations of it's called proprioception. The highest concentrations of that sensory input are from the neck and from the lower back. And that's, like I said, proprioception as well as balance sense. So that's extremely important information. The reason we talk about this is someone's posture. So if we look at posture the way it's defined, the definition of posture is the position in which somebody holds their body when sitting or standing. So posture, in other words, is the position of the skeleton. The position of the skeleton comes from the muscles. The muscles are controlled by the brain, and then the brain is going to make choices based on that sensory input. Therefore, sensory input is going to ultimately influence posture. So aberrant or really stressed out sensory signals from spinal injuries, see where we're going with this from a chiropractic point of view, can cause poor posture. That can actually be the cause of many people's poor posture, and you'll be surprised when we start going through this a little bit maybe. Now, what's a stressed posture? So we talk about maybe stress in the spine from stress injuries, spinal injuries. So let's define what stress looks like. There could be three kinds. There's physical, emotional stress, and then chemical stress. What happens to your muscles when you're stressed out? I can ask almost anybody that. I'll ask you, what happens to your muscles when you get stressed out? The muscles get tense and tight, and they're going to pull the shoulders up and forward. So, because we got big, strong muscles up here, pectoralis major, minor, as well as trapezius, especially in the back. So everything kind of rolls forward. I got a little picture of a turtle over here, and that turtle is to show us the position that a lot of people feel like they're in. It's a very protective posture. It's a posture that will protect the internal organs of the body. So we go basically, a stress posture is basically a protective posture. It's the same as a defensive posture. All you need to do is put your hands up, right? And then you're in a defense mode. In adults, it presents as slouched and rounded forward. Interestingly, when I adjust babies, it's the opposite. These babies are like arching and they're looking up and they're really stiff and rigid. That's the way that they express stress, which is different than the way an adult is going to express their postural stress. Now, this is where I come in. Injuries in the spine are, or at least can be, in many cases are, a major source of stress. Internal versus external stress. So we have an external environment that can be stressed out, like you have relationship stress, or you see, you're sitting in traffic, that kind of stuff. You can get stressed out. You feel your muscles get really, really tight. Or you can have internal stress, something like an old spinal injury that makes the muscles really, really tight, and we're just not aware of it. So what that does, when we have a lot of internal stress, it's going to shut off those really healthy proprioceptive signals. The body's sending out all those signals to the brain, and it turns on a nociceptive signal, which is, it's a negative signal. And it's a very stressful signal for the nervous system. And what that does is it in turn switches on something called the HPA axis, the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. And that's what we call a stress response. And over time, that just gets worse. So when you get an injury in your spine, it switches this thing on, the muscles go into guarding mode, and if that injury doesn't feel healed within about 6 or 8 weeks, it just becomes a permanent pattern. And over time, you'll just feel it. So a lot of times people will come in, and I'll identify an injury in their neck from maybe some, falling off a bike when you were a little kid, or falling out of a tree, or even a birth injury or a car accident. If you have an injury in there, I can call it every time. You're going to have, knots, trigger points all through the neck, down at the base of the skull, down at the base of the neck, and top of the shoulders, and then between the shoulder blades. This is where everybody gets their stress that's got neck injuries. And over time, it just spreads. Now, how do injuries occur? Well, I just covered a little bit of that. There are a million different ways to get a neck injury. One thing I didn't talk about is hitting your head on the ground. Concussive injuries like that absolutely can cause neck injuries. And that's what's going to trigger all those things that we talked about, falling off a bike or out of a tree, or car accidents, birth injuries, whatever. That's when it's going to shove the body into this protection mode, where you have the HPA axis going crazy and everything's just guarding. It's going to also create some inflammation, and then ultimately we end up with scar tissue in there. And what the body's trying to do ultimately is it's trying to immobilize those injured tissues. So when the tissues become so stressed out over time, it's going to take those injured joints or injured disc or whatever in there, and it's going to immobilize that with scar tissue and with that muscle guarding. And over time, it's going to create degenerative conditions, which we'll talk about here in a moment. Now, okay, so we talked about this. Muscle guarding continues to become permanent. Knots in the neck, knots in the lower back, in the case of lower back injury. We get scar tissue in the joints, ligaments, muscles, and discs. We'll actually get some fatty deposits, we know, as well in the muscles. And it's just the tissue is not healthy anymore. And the body's just continually acting as though it's still injured. It becomes a permanent issue, and it becomes cyclical, so it just gets worse over time. So what's wrong with that? So the soft tissue becomes sclerotic. So muscles, ligaments, discs, joint capsules become hard and dry, especially the discs will start drying out. It's called desiccation. And then the bones will actually start changing shape. It's called remodeling, and that's from additional stresses that are put on there. Melted wax appearance, bone spurs, calcification of soft tissues. This is what degeneration looks like. Now, here we go, finally. We have x-rays. So on the left, we can see a picture of a neck. Now, if you look, and maybe you'll be able to see this, looks like we can see it. We got C2, that's perfect shape. C3, perfect shape. C4, pretty perfect shape. C5, you see how this is concave, okay? This is actually convex. C2 is very convex as well. C1's up here. It doesn't have a vertebral body like the rest. So we have a little convex bone here and a little convex bone here, and then this one starts to look normal again. So C5 and C6 are going through degenerative changes. We can actually see a little bit of compression of the disc space as well, here and here. And if we shift to the lower back, this is the lower back from the side, we see great big open space here, and it's kind of, I wish I could zoom in on this, kind of hard to see, but we have this L5 disc is very, very compressed. This is what I'm talking about, with a lot of drying, that desiccation of those discs, and the bone changes that we're seeing on the left side. Now, what's degeneration? If we have to define degeneration, it is the progressive deterioration of physical characters from a level representing the norm of earlier forms. So let's say you come out, you're 18 years old, everything looks fine, and then by the time you hit 35 or 37 or whatever, we have degenerative changes. We have lots of changes. The tissue looks like it's aging really rapidly just in a couple little areas. That's degeneration. The other definition is a deterioration of a tissue or an organ in which its function is diminished or its structure is impaired. So that kind of goes back to the same definition or similar definition. So why do we care about degeneration for posture? Tissue degeneration is an indicator for us. It's not the end all, and tissue degeneration doesn't necessarily mean that the body's all worn out. It's the process. Those are the signals telling us that the body's going through a degenerative process. Chronic stress or degeneration indicates a long-term injury. The chronic stress indicates long-term muscle guarding patterns, and then the muscle guarding patterns are going to shift posture into a forward flexion and rounded shoulders. That's why people are going to end up in this kind of slouchy position here. It's not because they sit too much. It's because there's an injury in there that causes everything to be tight, and then we reinforce it by sitting too much. So we can identify the cause of the poor posture if we find areas of spinal degeneration. That's how we link those things together. And then, of course, we sit at a job all day, or we sit in school all day, or we sat, starting when we were 5 years old, and we just sit and sit and sit, and then it reinforces that poor posture. But if we can identify areas of degeneration in the spine, that's very likely the cause of it. And so we can actually break the cycle by fixing the cause. Now, how does this apply to us right now? So the first step to fixing posture in that case is to identify the stressor. If we find the cause, we start to identify the solution. Now, we have a few different things. I mentioned before, posture braces. What if you buy a posture brace off of Amazon? I actually have one that's a Chirp brand, because I bought Chirp wheels. They threw a posture brace in. Does that, it's going to reinforce the posture itself, but it's not identifying the cause. What about postural exercise? You go on YouTube, you can find a million videos that say, oh yeah, fix your posture in 5 minutes a day for 30 days and your posture is going to be fixed. It doesn't identify the cause. So when you stop those postural exercises, it's going to decay again back to the same posture that you had before. We have to change the way the brain perceives the body and the brain perceives the world. And so once we're able to identify the cause, then we can start making the changes that we need to make. So why is posture so hard to fix? Why are there a million exercise videos, posture exercise videos on YouTube? It's because it's really hard to fix. You can't just do it really simply, but everyone's like, oh, watch my video and they're going to get millions of views possibly, but it's not necessarily going to make the changes that it needs to. The body has become adapted to the poor posture. So it's built itself around that poor posture at a certain point. It's created itself around the stress. So it's created muscle patterns, it's created physical adaptations as well as neurological adaptations. Now, some of the very important things we have to look at for physical adaptations are the bone changes. What if the bones simply have changed their shape enough that we can't improve posture past a certain point? We have to be willing to say, okay, I understand that there's a limitation. I'm not going to be able to get back to my 18-year-old posture necessarily, but we can make, if we make a certain percentage of improvement, that's better than nothing. That's rarely the case. A lot of times we can do better than that, but sometimes the bone changes are severe enough, we just can't make changes past a certain point. What about ligament and muscle shortening and tightening? Well, those are considered soft tissues, so we can overcome those much more easily than we can a bone change. And same thing with joint restrictions. Unless the joint restriction is caused by arthritis in the joints or some other bony changes, most of the time we're able to make pretty reasonable and good changes in those things. The neurological adaptations, though, are very important as well. So neurological adaptations basically are that your body's stuck in a stress cycle. We have to break the stress cycle. So we're going to talk about how we do that. It works very similar, in a very similar way and time frame that changing the muscle patterns and the physical adaptations work. So 3 steps to improving posture. We have to do 3 things. We have to identify and eliminate, or at least reduce, the cause. So in other words, we have to find the injury. Second, we deal with the chronically tight adapted muscles. We have to remove the resistance to change, which is the chronic tightness and the fibrous adhesions in the musculature and all that kind of stuff. All the stuff we talked about in the last few slides. And then create stimulus for change in the soft tissues. And then the third thing we do, so what we have to do, number 2 basically is about making the body pliable, making it so that it's more elastic and able to make changes. And then the third thing we have to do is we have to strengthen the frame. We have to create permanence in any changes that get taken, that we're able to create in the musculature and in the posture. This is why I keep coming back to this kind of massive action thing. Massive change requires massive action. By the time most people come to my office and they have a lot of postural distortion, kind of this rounded forward, it's going to take some work. This is why it takes an important why. It takes an important, we have to get down to the root of why you want to do this and create value in having better posture. Because it's going to take work. It's going to take effort to do this. All right, now what if we don't do all 3 steps? What if I just go to the gym? A lot of people are like, I'm just going to go strengthen the frame. There are tons of benefits. I want people at the gym. Posture is going to be strengthened as it is. It's not getting to the root of the problem. It's not rehabilitating the old injuries. Progress is eventually going to be limited by the health of the tissue and the mobility of those joints we keep talking about. You also need to get adjusted and get the tissues ready to change. Now, what if I just get lots of massages? I love massage. I think it's great. The massage therapist rents a room from me, and he is awesome. There are tons of benefits to massage. It's not addressing the root of the problem. Muscles are continually going to go back to being tight because the stressor is still in there, and the joints are never going to be mobilized properly because it's not segmental enough. It's too regional and global. The body's still going to be lacking the necessary strength because you're not strengthening it yet to fight the gravity and defer that aging. So you also need to get adjusted and strengthen the frame. Now, what if I just get adjusted? What if I've been going to the chiropractor for years, but my posture's not better? So how does that fit in? There are tons of benefits to getting adjusted. I love it so much. But rehabilitating the old injury isn't necessarily changing the muscle tissue. Sometimes it will, sometimes it lags way too far behind the muscle tissue. So your body's still going to be lacking the strength to fight gravity and defer aging, and we need to condition the muscles and the soft tissues, as well as strengthen the frame. We need to do all 3 kind of in the right order, but the order becomes less important when you start throwing everything into the mix. All right, so how do we eliminate or reduce the cause? Just so happens, DC, Doctor of Chiropractic, Doctor of Cause. We adjust the joints. So adjusting the joints does so many wonderful things. It restores motion to sticky and stuck joints. It breaks up scar tissue. It increases that really, really healthy, happy proprioceptive signaling from the body up to the brain. It releases local and remote neurotransmitters. You know when you get adjusted, if you've ever been adjusted, oh man, that feels so good. That's because you get releases of neurotransmitters from getting adjusted. Pardon me. It stimulates the brain to make new connections. Most people have no idea that the adjustment is an incredibly powerful neurostimulatory event. It boosts activity in the prefrontal cortex for hours after an adjustment. It's amazing. And then we know that it actually calms the whole nervous system. That's why you see people, I remember in college, people would be like in the testing center popping their neck. The reason they do that before a test is because they're trying to calm themselves down. Their body knows inherently that if we put motion into those joints in a very particular way, it's going to calm things down. Now, that does not get to the root. We need to make sure that the stuck joints are moving, not just the loose joints, which is what people are doing all day long when they're self-adjusting. This needs to be at the core of what we do, even if it's not necessarily done first, but I do like to get it started first, or the rest is all going to be temporary, it's all going to go back. Now, step 2, we have to deal with the tight, adapted muscles. I'm sorry you can't see that on the screen, my face is in the way. The muscles control the bones, and they can be resistant to change. We need to do a few things. We need to increase muscle health. We need to break up the scar tissue. Can be complex, but we've kind of we made the process relatively easy in my office. We want to relax the muscles, and we want to allow them to function better and do more work. We need to actively change the muscles. This can be done with, we go back to increased muscle health. This is kind of the same principles. Therapeutic deep tissue massage. I love it. Like I said, we love that. We also do shockwave therapy in our office, which is really, really amazing. We do radial shockwave, which is excellent for breaking up the tightness and the scar tissue in the muscles. There are great studies about that, and we've had excellent results in the office. And then we can passively change the muscles. So we do that with specific stretches. We do postural change through those stretches. Once we have the joints moving properly, scar tissue breaking up, then we start adding the postural exercises. We also have a neck wedge that we can do, and that's going to open the body up, open the chest up to more ability to change in the upper part of the body for postural change. And then specific postural stretches to condition the muscles and ligaments. That's really what it comes down to. We want to condition the muscles and ligaments, all the soft tissue, to receive the changes that we're trying to make, and then we strengthen it. So, what are the benefits of strengthening the frame? I'm sorry, again, my face is in the way. Make it permanent. That's what we want to do. Permanence is really, really important. So we need to have improved and strengthened posture. I'm sorry, this is the benefits. The benefits of strengthening the frame. Improved and strengthened posture. Bone health, especially in women. Women, if you want to have a strong skeleton by the time you hit 60, 65, you need to lift heavy things. That's the best way to ensure that you're going to have a nice, strong skeleton. It increases neurological health. Exercise actually works better than antidepressants for people with depression. Increased physical strength, obviously. One of the best indicators for longevity is how hard you can, your grip strength. A dynamometer measures your grip strength. And the higher your grip strength right now, the better your longevity forecast is. It increases self-esteem. It increases the metabolism, so people lose weight faster. It improves cardiovascular health. It improves cognitive function. It improves sleep. It reduces risk of injury. It makes you more prone to making better lifestyle choices. It improves social structure. You get better sleep, improve weight management, improve balance, coordination. You get more motivated to improve other aspects of your life. And so exercise is an absolute game changer for most people. And I'm not talking any exercise. Any exercise is beneficial, don't get me wrong. But postural exercise, we need to lift heavy things. We need to strengthen the frame so that it can make the long-term changes that we need it to make, or it's just going to fall back into the same old patterns. We don't want that. Now, options for strengthening the frame. I'm going to gloss through these. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I think it is important. First is what we call Globo Gym. That's where you go in, you get a gym membership, and you go and lift weights with 50 million other people. 24-Hour Fitness, Vasa, Curves, EOS, City Rec Center. Those are all great. What I am a little bit leery of in those situations is most people need personal training. It can feel like a meat market. It can be super busy. It's intimidating for most people, especially if they've never been to the gym before. And there is absolutely a gym culture which some people consider really negative. Some people think is really positive, some is really negative. But there is a gym culture. The pros of doing it this way, it's much cheaper investment. My Vasa membership cost me just less than $20 a month, and I have access to everything. I've got hot tub, sauna, all that stuff. And included in that, there are often other perks other than just access to the weight machines. So I like this, but it's not my favorite. My favorite for strengthening the frame is actually group fitness. I go to CrossFit, and I have for about 7 or 8 years. I think it's really, really important. That's how I lift really heavy things. I pull heavy barbells off the ground, and I do heavy barbells in the air over my head. That's a really great way that I am confident it's maintaining my posture at about 50 years old. There's also Orange Theory, which I think is excellent. EXL Fitness, it's another functional fitness like CrossFit. Boxing Legends, I think that stuff's so cool. The Forge Gym, Hotworks, so these are all in the Orem area. So if you're not close to me, then you can look up functional fitness studios in your area. Yoga and Pilates, I think, are excellent as well. They're not lifting heavy things, but they're really great for postural strengthening on a smaller scale. Again, massive change. If we want massive change, we have to take massive action. Okay, so we're back to this slide. This is not about me. I'd like you, if you're willing to do, just a really quick self-assessment. And this I think maybe the exact same slide I shared earlier. Are you where you want to be in life? Are you the person you want to be? Are you where you want to be? Are you meeting your goals? Are you honoring your body as a gift from your Creator? Is your body your vehicle taking you through life in the manner you want it to? And if not, how? How is it letting you down? What can you do right now to start correcting that course? You get one body. Are you happy with it? And is it happy with you? And so I keep coming back to this because every day we get to make decisions regarding our health and regarding our body. The more people take seriously, oh man, I'm getting a little bit older every day. I'm hitting that. I'm right at middle age. And I want my body to last as long as I possibly can get it to last. I don't have control over everything, but I do have control over the choices that I make. And so if I have particular goals for my body, then I make choices every day that are going to help hit those goals. So what do we do next? Well, what we have to do is we start the process. First thing we do is assess your posture. Secondly, we figure out what your goals are. Is this something you want to really work on? Is it important to you? Maybe it's not, which is no judgment. If it's important to you, we want to figure out if that's something you want to fix. We find the cause, we establish a plan, and then we get to work. That's really what it comes down to. It's about information gathering, putting together kind of what goals are and what realistic expectations we can set, and then just getting about fixing it, getting it done. All right, that takes care of the entire PowerPoint, this entire presentation. I'm so grateful that you sat down and listened to this. If you sat down and listened to the whole thing, then I am grateful that you did. I hope it at least stirred some level of importance in you to say, yes, I want to take care of my body, and maybe I'm able to do that in a little bit better way here or there. I never want anyone to feel like I'm judging them for their decisions, but if they come to me for answers, then these are the answers that I often have to give. It takes work, it takes effort. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. If you have questions, once again, the phone number to the office is 801-762-6940. The web address is timpviewchiropractic.com. You can email the front desk at timpviewreception@gmail.com, and we look forward to hearing from you. Please call and let's get you checked out. Okay, have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching.